Heidi ho there, it's me again. It is Monday the 21st, and we are going to be looking at our STAAR reading prep for the week. I will go over a couple of questions with you this week, and then the remainder of the week will be you coming up with questions, or you answering a question. Okay, so this is called The Storm. And before we even get started, what we want to do is we want to talk about the skill. So the skill that we're practicing is the same skill that we practiced last week, which is making predictions. We always try to do the STAAR prep based off of what we practiced the last week in reading. So the storm. So I'm going to kind of look through here. I glance and I see some people's names. Okay, so I think that this is going to be a story, okay? Story about a big storm. Now, obviously, it's called The Storm, but why do I think it's a story? Because it's got these names in it, okay? If it didn't, then I might think that they were trying to tell us about storms or something like that. But since I glanced and saw names, I feel like it's going to be like a fiction story. Okay, so what I would go ahead and do at this point then is just kind of read along, and as I get to certain parts, I'm going to kind of stop and just jot down a little prediction over off to the side. That's what I want to focus on. Okay, so here we go. Marcus was ready for the storm. He had listened to the weather report days ago. He knew a hurricane might be hitting the area. He worked with his dad to make the house ready. They nailed boards over the windows. They moved things that could blow away easily. They also packed clothes so that they could leave the area. So I think that they will leave, but get stuck. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that's kind of what I'm feeling based off of them being so prepared. I'm wondering if something's going to happen. I hope not, though. All right, we're on the second paragraph. Marcus and his family knew that they should be out of their town by noon. They got into their car at 8 a.m. and headed to Grandma's house. She lived 2 hours away from the storm's path. When they got to Grandma's house, they watched the news. It seemed that the storm was slowing down, but the storm would still be very strong. They were glad they made the house early. So I can maybe change now, because now I'm starting to wonder. I think maybe that they're not going to get stuck. I think that they're going to wait for a little while and I guess kind of wait out the storm. And you don't have to write this much. You could have just written wait out the storm or something like that. So let me see. Now I'm on this paragraph. Grandma and Marcus's mom made food for everyone. Dad played games with Marcus and his brother. They waited patiently for more news about the storm. Late that night, Marcus was in bed in Grandma's guest bedroom. He said goodnight to everyone. He would have to wait until morning to hear more about the storm. So I'm going to maybe just put maybe it will come tomorrow, because it obviously slowed down so much that it didn't even come to them that particular day. So it was kind of like the weather is sometimes, where it says one thing, but then something else happens. So now let's go to the question, and we're going to code the question. So it says, what will most likely happen in the morning? Oh, most likely. Because they don't tell us, we have to make the prediction. So what's going to happen in the morning? We kind of sort of said that maybe it will come tomorrow, and that's in the morning. So we'll see if there's something like that as an answer choice. The storm will still not have arrived. Marcus will hear about the storm. The storm will have changed direction. There will be no TV reports about the storm. So are there any of these that just don't make sense? Do you think that they're just going to stop talking about the storm? Especially since they said it was still going to be there. It's just going to get slow. It's just slower. So I think that this one is terrible, that there's going to be no TV reports. And I crossed off the part that doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's not going to happen. What about the storm will still not have arrived? Do we know that? Now, let's go back and look at the very end, because that's kind of where we ended off. It said, he said goodnight to everyone. And look at what this says right here. He would have to wait until morning to hear more about the storm. That kind of sort of helps me answer number 1. It gives me a clue as to what's going to happen. Is it the storm will still not have arrived? I mean, maybe. But check this answer out. Marcus will hear about the storm. Well, that was in the passage. So that one, ooh, I kind of want to put a check mark, but I'll also put a question mark just because it's like, okay, let me double check. The storm will have changed direction. Do we know that? I mean, is that what we really think? I think this is probably the second worst answer. So now, which one do you feel you have the most evidence for? Marcus will hear about the storm, or the storm will still have not arrived. I feel like we have the most evidence because we could find some in the text for letter B. So that's going to be my answer for today. Hopefully you learned some tricks, and I will see you tomorrow.